Hello and welcome to our YouTube channel. So for today's video we're discussing new topic about our class's subject Computer Programming 2, which is 06 file input and output in midterm. This is your third and fourth week's topic. So, if you're interested with our midterms topic in computer programming, come and join us as we discuss this lesson. Topics to be discussed: computer files, the path and files classes, file organization, streams and buffers. Topics to be discussed: cont, the I/O files, sequential data files. Topics to be discussed: the I/O files and sequential data files. Types of storage device: volatile storage is temporary. Volatile values, stored in variables, are lost when the computer loses its power. The random access memory, RAM, is being used when a Java program stores a value in a variable. Non-volatile storage is permanent. A Java program that is saved on a disk uses a non-volatile storage. A computer file is a collection of data stored on a non-volatile device. Categories of file: a text file consists of data that can be read in a text editor. Data in a text file is encoded using a scheme. The most common schemes are ASCII and Unicode. Examples are program files and application files. A binary file contains data that is not encoded as text. This file has contents in binary format, which means they cannot be understood by viewing them in a text editor. Examples are images, music, and the .class extension files, which are created after compiling Java programs. The common characteristics of a text file and binary file are size, name, and date and time of creation. Permanent files are commonly stored in the main directory or the root directory. To organize stored files, folders or directories are used. Users may also create folders within folders. The complete list of the disk drive plus the hierarchy of directories in which the file is located is called path. Example of a complete path: see Java Chapter 8 example.txt. In the Windows operating system, the backslash is the path delimiter, the special character used to separate path components. The path class creates objects that contain information about files and directories, such as sizes, locations, creation dates, and is used to check whether a file or directory exists. The files class performs operations on files and directories, such as determining their attributes, creating input and output streams, and deleting them. To use both the path and files classes, add the following statement: import java.neo.file. To create and define a path, use the paths class and its get method. Example: path file path equals paths get. See Java Chapter 8 sample.txt. An absolute path is a complete path. It does not require any other information to locate a file on a system. Example: see Java Chapter 8 sample.txt. A relative path depends on other path information. Examples: sample.txt, Chapter 8 sample.txt. Java Chapter 8, path methods: string to string, returns the string representation of the path, eliminating double backslashes. Path get filename, returns the file or directory denoted by this path. This is the last item in the sequence of name elements. Int get name count, returns the number of name elements in the path. Path get name, int, returns the name in the position of the path specified by the integer parameter. Here are the sample program. The program shows that we initialized a public class path sample. Under the main method, we initialized and declare a method path with a variable name file path. the file path will get using the .get command with a specified path of the file, integer. Count is used to determine the getName count of the file. We will use the system.out.println to print the command path is plus file path. To string. Here in the printing statements, we used the string concatenation combined with the variable name to be printed with the method call. In programming, a for loop is a control flow statement that allows you to iterate over a sequence of values, such as a list or a string, a specified number of times. In a for loop, you define a variable that acts as a counter, and then you specify the start, stop, and step values for the counter. The loop will run once for each value of the counter within the specified range. When it comes to strings, a for loop can be used to iterate over the characters in the string, one by one. The program flow of the Java code is as follows. The program imports two classes, scanner and path from the java.util and java.neo.file packages, respectively. The path sample class is declared and contains a single main method, which is the entry point for the program. Inside the main method, a string variable filename is declared and initialized to an empty string. A new scanner object S is created to read input from the user via the console. The program prompts the user to enter a file name by printing the message enter a file name to the console. The user's input is read in using the next line method of the scanner object and stored in the filename variable. The paths get method is used to create a new path object input path from the filename variable. The toAbsolute method is called on the input path object to get the full absolute path of the file. The resulting path object full path is printed to the console using the toString method. The program terminates. Overall, the program prompts the user for a file name, reads in the user's input, and then prints the full path of the file to the console. To verify if a file exists and if a program can access it when needed, the checkaccess methods is used. Arguments of the checkaccess method, none, checks whether the file exists, read, checks whether the file exists and whether the program has permission to read the file, write, checks whether the file exists and whether the program has permission to write to the file, execute, checks whether the file exists and whether the program has permission to execute the file. The delete method of the files class accepts a path parameter and removes the last element, file or directory, in a path or throws an exception if the deletion is unsuccessful. Examples of exceptions: if there is an attempt to delete a file that does not exist, a no such file exception is thrown. If there is an attempt to delete a directory that has files, a directory not empty exception is thrown. If there is an attempt to delete a file without permission, a security exception is thrown. Other input/output errors cause IO exception. The delete if exists method can also be used to remove a file without encountering an exception if the file does not exist. To retrieve useful information about a file, the read attributes method of the files class is used. This method takes two arguments. These are path object and basic file attributes. Class. The read attributes method returns an instance of the basic file attributes. Class. Basic file attributes methods, size, returns the size of the file in bytes, creation time, returns the date and time the file was created, format, year, month, date, time, hours, minutes and seconds, T stands for time, last modified time, returns the date and time the file was last edited, same format with creation time, compare to, compares relationship between values retrieved from creation time, or last modified time. The program is a collection of 4 Java classes that demonstrate how to use the java.neo.file and java.neo.file.attribute packages to work with file attributes in Java. The currentSize class reads the size of a file named file.txt using the files.read attributes method and the basic file attributes class. The size of the file is then printed to the console. The creationTime class reads the creation time of a file named file.txt using the files.read attributes method and the basic file attributes class. The creation time of the file is then printed to the console. the last modified time class reads the last modified time of a file named file.txt using the files.read attributes method and the basic file attributes class. The last modified time of the file is then printed to the console. The compared class reads the last modified times of two files named file1.txt and file2.txt using the files.read attributes method and the basic file attributes class. The last modified times of the files are compared using the compareTo method of the fileTime class, and the result of the comparison is printed to the console. The program flow of each class is similar. Each class declares a main method, which is the entry point for the program. Inside the main method, a path object is created for the file whose attributes are being read. The files.read attributes method is then called to read the attributes of the file. And the specific attribute of interest, e.g. size, creation time, last modified time, is obtained from the basic file attributes object returned by the method. Finally, the result of the attribute is printed to the console using system.out.println. The smallest useful piece of data is the character. A character can be any letter, number, or other special symbol, such as punctuation mark, that makes up data. A field is a group of characters that has some meaning. Fields are grouped together to form records. A record is a collection of fields that contain data about an entity. Records are grouped to create files. A file consists of related records. When each record in a file is accessed one after another in the order in which it was stored, the data file is used as a sequential access file. A record's fields can be organized into a single line or can be separated by a character. Values in a record that are separated by commas are called comma-separated values. A stream is a flow of data. If the data is taken from a source, such as a file or the keyboard, and is delivered into a program, it is called an input stream. If the data is delivered from a program to a destination, such as a file or the screen, it is called an output stream. A buffer is a memory location into which you can write data, which you can read again later. Flushing clears any bytes that have been sent to a buffer for output but have not yet been displayed on a hardware device. When each record in a file is accessed one after another in the order in which it was stored, the data file is used as a sequential access file. A record's fields can be organized into a single line or can be separated by a character. Values in a record that are separated by commas are called comma-separated values. A stream is a flow of data. If the data is taken from a source, such as a file or the keyboard, and is delivered into a program, it is called an input stream. If the data is delivered from a program to a destination, such as a file or the screen, it is called an output stream. A buffer is a memory location into which you can write data, which you can read again later. Flushing clears any bytes that have been sent to a buffer for output but have not yet been displayed on a hardware device. Input and output classes. Input stream, abstract class that contains method for performing input. File input stream, provides the capability to read disk from files. Buffered input stream, handles input from a system standard or default input device, usually the keyboard. Output stream, abstract class that contains method for performing output. File output stream, provides the capability to write to disk files. Buffered output stream, handles input from a system standard or default output device, usually the monitor. Print stream, contains methods for performing output that never throws an exception. System.out is a print stream object. Reader, abstract class for reading character streams. The only methods that a subclass must implement are read, char, int, and close. Buffered reader, reads text from a character input stream, buffering characters to provide for efficient reading of characters, arrays, and lines. Buffered writer, writes text to a character output stream, buffering characters to provide for the efficient writing of characters, arrays, and lines. Common methods of the output stream class. Void close closes the output stream and releases any system. Resources associated with the stream, void flush, flushes the output stream. If any bytes are buffered, they will be written. Void write, byte, b, writes all bytes to the output stream from the specified byte array. Void write, byte, b, int off, int len, writes bytes to the output stream from the specified byte array starting at offset position off for a length of len characters. The file's class new output stream method is used to create a writable file. A path and a standard open option argument are passed to this method. This method creates a file if it hasn't existed yet, opens the file for writing, and returns an output stream that can be used to write bytes to the file. Standard open option arguments, write, opens the file for writing, append, appends new data to the end of the file. Use this option with write or create, truncate _ existing, truncates the existing file to 0 bytes so the file contents are replaced. Use this option with the write option, create _ new, creates a new file only if it hasn't existed yet. It throws an exception if the file already exists. Create, opens the file if it exists or creates a new file if it hasn't existed yet. Delete _ on _ close, deletes the file when the stream is closed. It is used most often for temporary files that exist only for the duration of the program. The new input stream method of the files class is used to open a file for reading. This method accepts a path parameter and returns a stream that can read bytes from a file. A buffered reader object is declared to read a line of text from a character input stream, buffering characters so reading is more efficient. Common methods of the buffered reader class: closes the stream and any resources associated with it. Read, reads a single character. Read, char, buffer, int off, int len, reads characters into a portion of an array from position off for len characters. Read line, reads a line of text. Skip, long n, skips the specified number of characters. Sequential data files, the buffered writer class writes text to an output stream. Buffering the characters, buffered writer methods: closes the stream, flushing it first. Flushes the stream. New line, writes a line separator. Write, string s, int off, int len, writes a string from position off for length len. Write, char, array, int off, int len, writes a character array from position off for length len. Write, int c, writes a single character.